This game makes me sad. Because it's a sad game. It has sad stories, sad broken, jaded characters, and the post-exterminatus world of soulless corporate greed that took over everything. How can anyone be sad about these characters? Easy, my dear viewer. Unbeknownst to you, you're getting attached to them. They're disembodied voices that sound somewhat like caricatures, but at the same time believable. That's what sells it. And gameplay, yes, it's also fantastic. Hey, it's me, Breeze, and I want to yell into the void of YouTube how underrated Armored Core 6 is. Being a pilot of a towering mech should be a power fantasy. And it is, but not for long. Sure, an attack helicopter is just an annoying fly to you. A tank is more like a nasty bug that just happened to crawl in your path. But there are also rival mech pilots. Some of them are noobs, some of them have access to the gear the corporations were cooking behind the closed doors in the secret facilities. Some just use the rulebook for wiping.
Interesting.
It's time to show them all what you're made of. There's also a bit of existential philosophy to spice things up and tease your mind. You still have that, right? Good. Honestly, it might just be FromSoft's most quietly profound work yet. In my opinion, they nailed it, with stun needles. And just like a doctor's visit, you won't know what hit you until the bill arrives. If your attention span hasn't gone the way of Jaguar and Lotus, you might just stand a chance here. But there is also another way. I'll let you know about it as we go along. Let's take an acetylene torch to this game's narrative shell and pick what lies beneath without going into too much detail and ruin the mystique by explaining everything. If you feel like cheapening yet another awesome game by over-explaining things, that's already been done. Let's also nerd out a little and briefly touch on things that make AC6 stand out. Its pacing, its granular build customization, its surprisingly elegant and rhythmic dance of violence, and of course, its awesome music. Time to unpack the fire, the steel, and the strange future humanity buried beneath it all. Somewhere between the rubble, the corporate spreadsheets, and the corpses. You know, the mundane.
Main system activating combat mode.
Welcome to the rusted steel halls of Rubicon 3, a planet scorched by greed and ambition. No wait, wrong planet. Haunted by ghosts of corporate uncontrolled excess. Damn it, wrong planet. Your overlords care about you as much as Microsoft cares about its employees. This is Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. A game that asks what makes a good soldier, a good rebel, a good pawn, a good idealist, a good top manager, a good cult leader, and whether any of those labels can be separated. They can't. Microsoft wins again. Dystopian purgatory. Rubicon 3 is a gaping carcass, a husk of a planet seared by the aftermath of the Coral Cataclysm. Exploited by mega corporations who worship no gods but profit margins. War is the ultimate trade with best monetary opportunities. That's Earth again. In Armored Core 6, you're a nameless dog with a tag, C4621, who involuntarily becomes a gun for hire as the only way to pay off debts. You fight for clients who seem to speak English, but you struggle to see any sense in what they're saying. Good old HR speak, but with orbital cannons charged from constant use. Even the revolutionaries are mere pawns. I'm sure somewhere there is a boardroom where rebellion is just part of the quarterly strategy. If you actually take time to listen and pay attention, you'll be surprised how much will start making sense and how much can you care. That's not schizophrenia. AC6 carries the banner raised by System Shock and its sequels by telling a story via mostly voice work. It's like a podcast that's actually fun to listen to. There is also a bunch of insightful text logs for those of you who can still read. I salute you, you dying breed. Business has always been about taking risks. It's just that here it's always apparent. Not entirely novel of a concept to pose humanity as some pest for the much greater being that it cannot even comprehend, but it's done very tastefully here. You know, the tasteful kind of systematic annihilation. It's a very minor point, but I find it interesting how many different nationalities are subtly represented in Armored Core 6 all over the place in its world. The pilot's surnames, the parts and weapon names are German, American, Japanese, Armenian, Chinese and British. I'm sure I've missed a few more. It's a nice way of making this completely alien setting at least somewhat familiar, and in a way relatable. Nothing says global unity like everyone getting equally vaporized in the resource war. It almost seems like the game's central message is the absurdity of agency in a system designed to strip you of it. You'll make choices later in the game, but the brilliance of Armored Core 6 is that those choices feel less like free will and more like desperate thrashing in an already closed and firmly tightened vice. Less choose your own adventure and more choose the size and color of your coffin. Coral. In universe, it's a miraculous spice-like substance, fuel, data stream, potentially sentient. Basically, if Plankton, Bitcoin and LSD had a baby in the waters of a nuclear reactor coolant. In gameplay terms, it's justification for every faction to one-up each other by any means necessary, like we ever needed one. In metaphor, it's pure Greek mythology fire, a symbol of temptation, transformation, and obliteration. Consider yourself Prometheus, piloting a mech while on designer drugs. The narrative will slowly peel back Coral's layers, from just a resource to voice in your head. For some it's technology, for others theology. You discover that Coral might be alive, that the thing you've been helping to extract, process and commodify might have dreams, regrets. I know, tell a sub-story to the conquistadors. However, this Pocahontas here might also be packing something else. A full-blown plan. Eventually, the game offers you two distinct endings, and with the New Game Plus Plus a third. Each is a commentary on how one deals with monstrous systems they've been trapped in. Do you burn it all down and start over? Do you try to control it? Do you become something else and transcend? From a cubicle to a top floor corner office with a view and a private pleasure island access then. Wait, scratch the island part. Without spoiling too much, the Liberator of Rubicon ending seems righteous at first, until you realize you're switching tyrants. The Fires of Raven is apocalyptic, but perhaps merciful in a way. And Alea Iacta Est, the New Game Plus Plus route? That's where the mask comes off, and Coral's full intentions are revealed. Much like Evangelion by way of Dune spiced with an arms dealer's price list. And yes, that is a compliment. When I evolve at a price, that's not really a question. I was just being polite. What's even better is that on NG Plus and later some missions will have alternative versions, or what's even cooler than that, will offer you a new option mid-mission. And some reviewers actually said that AC6 was lacking in the story department. I know, right? So now that we've torn our souls apart, let's talk shop. The gameplay in Armored Core 6 is about timing, speed and budget management. Kinda like dating. The verticality and aggression encouraged by previous AC games and Sekiro bled into the combat design here. You have options to be a tank or swiftly strike, stagger and slaughter. Be nimble and elusive as herpes, or as blunt as a huge guy in a dark alley asking if you got a light, or anything in between. The game's true brilliance lies in its customization, and it's not some brain-dead Diablo meth of picking weapons with the bigger numbers. although the series veterans have complained that it's been simplified. I wouldn't know, I just trust the guy who made Sekiro. A balance of weight and power output versus consumption is the task here. Wanna be a nimble bipod with dual Zimmerman shotguns? Go for it. Prefer a four-legged plasma-throwing missile-spamming bully who only touches the ground for pity? Absolutely. Need to strap on 4 grenade launchers and erase enemy mechs as soon as they are foolish enough to give you an opening? Or give them a false sense of security by building up stagger, and when that happens, time to get shafted. Twice. There's no lock-on in the game per se. Your FCS takes time to calculate the aiming for you, but don't forget to let it lock on first. Otherwise, it's just ammo and time wasted. What you need to pay attention to is your choice of the targeting system. It has to reflect your playstyle. You'll have to balance 3 distances: close, 0 to 130 medium, 130 to 260, and long, 260 plus. All the computers are usually good at 1, maybe 2, and there is no perfect all-arounder. 2 types of targeting lock are offered with their respective payoffs. The soft lock requires you control the camera at all times and keep the target inside the circle. The hard lock takes more time for the FCS to lock on, but all you need to do is press lock on once and focus on the combat entirely. Again, it's risk-reward. Mouse players can skip this class, stick to soft lock and actually perform some miracles. Just as an example, my most used build in AC6 is the double stun guns with 2 shoulder stun needle launchers. The targeting system is close range focused. Why use it with long range needle launchers? Because I don't really need to aim them. They're the ultimate punishment. They pack a very serious punch, but it gets to ridiculous levels when used against a stunned enemy. So why invest in medium or long range targeting if you're only going to use the needle launchers against a stationary target? You just need to perfectly track targets at close range. Also kicking. Chicken legs are the best for it. On top of that, they give you a spare evade by the way of an awesome looking jump. Just remember that there is no perfect solution for every single mission in the game, even if you streamlined your approach to perfection. Sometimes a quadruped is just too good to pass up. Energy weapons are devastating, but come with the caveat of being forced to manage several new meters. So, to put it simply, it's a smorgasbord. For maniacs. But some missions will push you to rethink your approach. Bosses like Baltius, the Ice Worm, and a few NG Plus missions will require some adjustments. Players will learn to read and realize the lesson of Armored Core. Adaptation is survival, and you actually need to listen to what the game is saying. What has worked for 10 missions might not work on the next one. It feels at times as if you're solving the game. Some missions are intended as a boss run. First task is to get to the boss with minimal loss, which at first is easy enough. Then you have to observe the boss, spot its strengths and weaknesses, you know the drill, and try not to whine that there is a difficulty spike. Or just, get good. Yes, this is also an option, but get ready for absolutely ludicrous levels of frustration. My friend actually played through the entire game with a starter AC. Changed nothing in it. Love you, you weirdo. He also never stole a single car in GTA. This isn't a FromSoft RPG where you get stronger because the numbers go up. It's slowly opening up to you its options, and whether you choose to explore them or not is entirely up to you. But sometimes you're gonna have to, especially for the few of the side missions. If you thought that Doom the Dark Ages mech combat was repetitive and too easy, then you're gonna love this. Music in Armored Core 6 sounds the characters out. And nowhere is it more apparent than in the track Rough and Decent. Clara's musical signature and may be the best character sketch in the entire game. You know you've made it when your personality type is played in the background. The piece has a delicate piano line, fragile and even a little hesitant, like someone politely knocking before blowing a hole in your front door. It's melodical, almost graceful. She's not entirely sure who you are at first. This piano line is Clara herself at a glance, disarmingly charming, sarcastic, unnervingly calm. You can almost imagine her smiling as she gives you that one-liner.
I guess playing nice is a smart choice here.
The track is industrial, synthetic. Cold synth pulses are at its core. The result is music that sounds like an airstrike wrapped in silk scarves. Or a charity event, sponsored by Lockheed Martin. Therein lies the tension. Clara is not just another rival mech pilot, she's the OG, a Cinder. She's polite, warm, elegant, but it's all armor, literally and emotionally. Even her compliments come with splash damage. She's a scientist and an engineer. She has fun doing it. Imagine Dr. Frankenstein, but with heat-seeking missiles and better posture. The structure of the track reflects her mentality. She sizes you up like a ballroom partner, then shoots you in the face. Technically still a dance move if you fall gracefully. That's Clara, a tad jazzy, rough and decent. And yes, that's sarcasm baked into the title. Like calling a nuclear bomb respectfully spicy. Funny enough, she's actually decent and loyal to her friends. It's just her idea of decency might not be the same as yours. The name of the track refers to the abbreviation RAD, the name of Clara's parts and weapons manufacturer. All the names are ironic. The Sweet 16 13-barrel shotgun, a flamethrower called Bad Cook, even the name she gave to her AI assistant, Chatty, is due to him barely talking ever.
Oh yeah, you haven't met. Chatty's our systems admin. Doesn't talk much, but he knows his stuff.
It's like naming your emotional support animal Madus. When you hear that tune come back later, distorted, chopped, turned into a war cry, you'll realize not only did From Software write Clara, they also composed her, mixing piano and missile barrages. The girl boss anthem of the post-apocalypse. You go by Raven, but you're still C4621. Gun 13.
Gun 13, huh? I'll stick with 621.
You're a licensed serial number doing unpaid internships for Orbital Watch. Great exposure. Terrible healthcare. But who are you? Armored Core doesn't hand you a backstory, it amputates it. Your handler Walter tells you all you need to know. The rest is classified, burned, or buried like an embarrassing past. And that austere approach is the point. Whether you claim that there's no story or rummage the rubble of Rubicon for logs and uncover it is entirely up to you. But there's definitely a story. Your pilot is a cipher not because FromSoft forgot to write him, but because the game wants you to feel the same emptiness the corporations feel towards you. You're nothing more than an asset, a tool, a small investment. Every decision you make is filtered through voices in your ear, none of whom care if you die, as long as you die efficiently. Eventually, one might care, maybe two. And as the game progresses, the irony thickens. The drone begins to dream. Raven, the name you steal, becomes more real than the pilot nickname. You start to hear Coral's voice. You're not just executing contracts, you're listening to your handler. Or Coral. Maybe it's just a hallucination brought on by the exposure to high concentrations of it. Side effects may include hallucinations, existential dread, and natal burns. Ask your handler if Coral is right for you. You could say that, in a way, FromSoft has done this before. Sekiro questioned identity through memories, Elden Ring through purpose reassigned. Dark Souls doubted if there ever was any point in anything, but Armored Core 6 weaponizes silence. Your character never speaks, but you start to realize everyone else speaks for you. There are your trains of thought going in different directions, even bluntly mocking at times, until the final say is yours again. And by then you've either become the voice of a new era or a crater, smoking with good intentions. Now right here is where it all snaps into place. The third playthrough opens up a path that transforms the entire narrative. The game where NG+ and ++ actually pay off. Coral isn't just a resource or even a sentient entity. It's a network, it's a consciousness, a hive mind, a vision of post-human evolution or extinction. And you, Raven, are its solution. In Alea Iacta Est ending, you become something new, a kind of an anti-messianic figure, someone who doesn't save the world but merges with it. And you and the Coral aren't two entities anymore. You are one. The final moment, cryptic, poetic and terrifying, suggests that Coral has won, not through force but through understanding. It listened and waited. It knew what you really were, lonely, broken and programmable. Like a remote viewing experiment run by the Soviet Union Ministry of Thought Hygiene. You don't conquer the system, you became its prophet. It's a victory that tastes like metal and ash, because this might not be a story of transcendence. It feels like a story of a species slowly being replaced by the consequences of its own ambitions. The Coral sings and maybe, just maybe, there'll be your voice in the choir, chanting in reverse Latin, while dressed like something from Holy Mountain. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is a game about mechs, yes, but it's also a dirge. A bleak, stylish, thrilling meditation on war, duty, attachment and purpose. It never screams these themes at you, it lets you feel them in between missions. The empty aftermath of a ruined city or the moment a dying enemy thanks you. The build variety is phenomenal. The boss fights are varied and memorable. And no, that one certain boss is not as unfair and frustrating as Millennia. The writing is sparse but razor sharp. And like all of FromSoft's best work, motivation and meaning unveils slowly. You can't stumble upon them, however, in a way you do. But it's not coincidental, it's earned via playing. So if you're thinking of picking it up for some mech-on-mech violence, great, you'll get that. But stay a while and listen. Listen to the Coral. And maybe, who knows, you'll hear something familiar. Hopefully not your credit score being read aloud.